Welcome, fans, to another edition of the Old School Shooters podcast. My name is Jack Kilby, the Executive Vice President of Great North Wrestling. And tonight we are very pleased to have an esteemed guest on, a man who has been in the professional wrestling industry for many years. He's an actor. He's appeared in a number of productions, including The Wrestler, the Mickey Rourke film from 2008. But in more recent years has been a founding member of the Conspiracy Horsemen with Bin Hameen, Big Sal Graziano, and of course, Steven Richards, a man of many, many talents, many perspectives, who comes from a real old school background in the traditional sense. And that would be the Greek god Papadon. And we're very pleased to have you here. Thanks for agreeing to appear, GGP.
Well, thank you for having me. To make sure the check doesn't bounce this time.
No, sir. No, sir. And of course, I am joined, as always, by my co-host, the man who is a legendary figure in his own right, who's sitting there looking resplendent as usual in a blue jacket and smoking a stogie, King of Connecticut. King, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing great, brother. I'm going to teach him how to be in 2023 on this show. And I'm very excited about this guest. Very, very excited, Jack.
Well, we're off to a tremendous start with StreamYard doing its thing, but we're going to try and traverse through this. Before we get started on any of the questions that we had laid out, GGP, the big news of the day, I wanted to get your reaction from right off the bat, and that's the resignation of Stephanie McMahon as the co-CEO of WWE. Do you have any thoughts on that and where the industry is heading at that level?
Let's see. I mean, everyone's making a big deal of it. I don't see it as a big deal, to be honest with you, only because we're not a fly in the room, so we don't know what's really going on. First and foremost, let me apologize for my dog barking in the background. I don't mean to be unprofessional, but he's trying to get his spots in. Goddamn guy doesn't know how to work. But in all actuality, look, what happened. Regardless of the fact, they're gonna sell the company sooner or later. Guy's 77 years old. He came back, the stock went up 20% in one day. And when you're a public company, you got to realize one thing: you got to keep the shareholders happy and you got to make money. And at the end of the day, if selling the company is going to make them a lot of money and the stock's going to go even further through the roof, that's what's going to happen. Whether it's Disney or Amazon or Warner Brothers or whoever may be buying it, we'll see. Maybe they'll buy before WrestleMania. Maybe the first WrestleMania that's not a McMahon run. Who knows? We don't know. Only time will tell. But at the end of the day, what did you think was going to happen? The guy has the majority stock in the company. I don't know how many wrestling fans know how corporations work. I do. So, I mean, it is what it is. Do I see anything, down the road that she's not there? No. I mean, unfortunately, and this is very old school, this business owes nothing to anyone. Nothing's guaranteed. You're in it. It's like being in an abusive relationship. You always come back for more. And whether you're the head honcho, Vince, or whether you're just a kid starting the first day in wrestling school, this business owes nothing to anyone. So we'll see what happens. I mean, hopefully she'll be able to stay home with her kids and have a good life. I mean, she already has a great life from what I understand. And hopefully, from what I understand, Triple H will keep doing what he does creatively and people are happy with his direction. And we'll see what happens. I mean, the only way they can get better is if they hire me. And that's it.
And that could be argued that that's long overdue, which is a good segue into my next question. I consider, given your lengthy career, I believe you started in the business in '99 on the independents.
Yes.
I think it's pretty safe to say that you are an old school worker, if there ever was one in this day and age. And is that accurate from your perspective, sir?
Well, first of all, thank you for the compliment, because I am a worker. I'm not a wrestler. You could teach a monkey to wrestle. I know how to work a crowd, and I'm able to get that emotional connections with the people that paid money to attend an event. So thank you for that compliment. I'm not a wrestler. I'm not an entertainer. I'm a worker. And yes, I'm old school. I'm a good hybrid because because obviously you have to adopt and adapt with the changing times, and you got to give the crowd what they want. But I'm able to manipulate the crowd and be the puppet maker, the puppet, the guy who's the puppet master. Excuse me, not puppet maker. I'm not freaking Geppetto over here, but the puppet master, and control their emotions and give them what they want without them knowing, which is a very old school way of thinking, but it's also the purest form of professional wrestling, and it's a lost art form. A lot of people are too worried about the crowd being silent, or they're working to get a chant or to get a clap. That's not what I want. I know what I want, and what I want is what you're going to give me, because I'm going to make you give it to me whether you like it or not, and that's always happens at the end of the night.
Absolutely. So, given the fact that you were of that genesis and that generation, you were really part of working primarily in the Northeast for a number of companies I can list that I'm sure all the fans that know your bio are aware of. You were really on the beginning, the genesis of a golden age of independent wrestling in the U.S. Do you have any thoughts today on that business in terms of where it's headed? Do we have an opportunity with the extensive discontent with a lot of the major companies in terms of, do you see independents being able to grow further and become a more viable business model, or what are your thoughts from that extensive time frame that you've been working them?
Let's see. It's a lot easier to get in the business now than it was when I started. And even when I started, it was quote unquote easier compared to what people had to go through in the late 80s, early 80s, early 90s to get into the business. Unfortunately, I got in at a time where WCW folded, ECW folded. There wasn't very many guys on a national level, weren't a lot of spots available. I'm not 6'4", I'm 5'10". At the time, it was what it was. It was a big man's game. But as far as the industry in general being what it is, it's ever changing, and unfortunately, people can't get a grasp on what they want, because in '89 we'd watch Steamboat and Flair do 40 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, and be entertained on the edge of our seats because our attention span was a lot greater. Now people are conditioned because of this, because of the technology in their hand, that their attentions only last for a certain amount of period, and it's very, very minute. And on top of that, not only the fan, but the business itself is ever changing. We'd have back in the day programs that would last 3, 6, 9 months, a year, and then there's a payoff, and people would be emotionally vested. Now people are working for segments and quarter hour, situations and ratings, or and they're rushing everything, and everything's hot shot booking because they're afraid the crowd's not going to follow them. Well, when you let the crowd dictate the pace of the show, the match, the product, the brand, the IP, you're in trouble, because the inmates are running the asylum, because the fans don't know what they want. One month they're going to want a big guy throwing people around. Next month they're going to want a flippity doodah guy. Next month they're going to want female wrestling. The following month they're going to want hardcore wrestling. It's because it's like eating grilled chicken or eating steak or eating ice cream every day, every meal for a certain amount of time, for a certain period. You get tired of it, no matter what it is. So you got to change it up. Variety is the spice of life, and that's what they want. So again, you let the inmates run the asylum, you're going to get what we get and what we have now. As far as independent wrestling, the business goes, I don't know, man, because you have a lot of great companies out there, but you have a lot of shitbag companies. I'm sorry, I'm not allowed. I don't know if we're allowed to.
No, you can bring it. Bring it. We don't mind.
Away.
All right.
We might, I always say on the show, we might offend Jack Kilby's Canadian sensibilities, but I think he's doing a show with me long enough, and he's heard the fuck word and shit word fly. So you can go ahead, brother.
Thank you. We have a lot of shit companies and a lot of shit promoters who think they're promoters but don't want to promote, and they'll throw something on social media, and that's the extent that they're promoting, and they'll draw 20, 30, 50, 100 fans, and they'll fight over the same fans that went to the show down the road last week, or that the same night there's two shows competing within the same radius, and instead of working together to kind of make it the best for the fans and for their pockets and for the well-being of the company, they'll try to be fighting for the same 100 fans. So I don't know, man. It's weird because there's no real gray area. It's either you're good or you're not, and a lot of production value isn't what it should be. People don't realize you need a 3-camera shoot. You need people to come out, do a beauty pose, wait for a second, let the crowd absorb that first interaction with the crowd, get that sense, that feeling from them, and then go to the ring and then do your beauty shot to the hard cam and you got to present yourself like a superstar. But sometimes, unfortunately, some of these kids nowadays, they don't want to wear trunks, they don't want to wear boots, they want to wear jeans or whatever, and it just, you look like your neighbor, you're going to get the reaction. If your neighbor is wrestling in the ring, you come out looking like a superstar, people are going to treat you like a superstar. I mean,
you nailed that. You hit the nail on the head there, because there's an old school saying, if you dress like the people in the crowd, you might as well be there, brother.
Yeah, definitely. I am a firm believer of that. And at the end of the day, when you go watch a baseball team, you don't see the people on the field dressed like the spectators. You go watch a football team or any professional sports team, you don't see people dressed like spectators. You go watch, MMA. They're in the cage. They're not wearing jeans. They're wearing they call them trunks, but it's really fight shorts, whatever the case may be. So you
GGP, let me ask you, GGP, a quick question in that regard. Do you find that no one wants to really be a heel anymore or a villain anymore? And do you find that they're so monotonous? Everybody kind of looks the same. There's no real characters anymore.
Yes. And as far as the heel thing goes, you're looking at one of the last true heels. I don't care about being a cool heel. I don't need to be a cool heel. If I want to be cool, I'd be a babyface. Can I be a babyface? Yeah, I've been it plenty of times, to the point where I've been such a great heel that the crowd automatically turns me babyface. It happened in ECWA. It happened in NYWC. Happened in many feds that I've wrestled for. But nowadays, there's only a handful of guys who are true dastardly, conniving villains. The most famous one right now, being the king of the castle in AEW, is MJF. He's doing a great job. There's a guy named Darius Carter here in the Northeast. He's a great heel. There's another guy, Joey Conway. He's a great heel. Bin Ha-min, he's a great heel. Blaze Haram, he's a great heel. Danny Moff, another guy, great heel. So I mean, case in point, if you want to be a great heel, you can be a great heel. That's a personal decision, and I find that it's easier to manipulate a crowd if it's black and white. There's no gray area. Because when there's gray area, there's room for confusion. And then what happens? You'll have half of the crowd cheering you, half of the crowd booing, and then they're going to start fighting with each other, and they're not going to want to deal with it because they're trying to escape realism, and their problems are coming to be entertained. So they'll sit on their hands because they don't want to deal with the crowd heckling each other. So why put yourself in that position? You go out, you decide what you want to be, or you're getting paid to be something. It's the oldest test of time. David versus Goliath. Good guy versus bad guy. I mean, my people, the Greeks, invented professional wrestling. We invented everything. So at the end of the day, it's not rocket science or brain surgery. So to these kids out there that go out there slapping their legs and being citizens of Leg Slap City, I just want to smack the shit out of you because you're killing my business. But when there's no psychology, there's no selling, and there's no good guy or bad guy that you can realize within the opening minute of the match or the opening 10-20 seconds of the match who the villain, who the face is, then we have a problem.
Yeah, this is a good segue into my next question. Being a fan of your work for a number of years, I note that you work what's, in layman's terms, a snug, realistic style. It looks like a content when GGP's in the ring, no matter who it is, it looks like a bona fide fight or an athletic contest.
Well, thank you.
When you look at how popular, and not to throw shade on anyone, but I don't know if you saw the latest New Japan Pro Wrestling pay-per-view, Wrestle Kingdom, where Ospreay and Omega had a 6.25 star match with a lot of acrobatics and others in the industry that do that without concern, as you touched on, for psychology. Do you think that the business is hurt by that lack of realism that we're seeing overwhelmingly today, no matter whether you're talking independents or WWE, AEW, etc.?
I haven't watched the match yet. I actually going to watch it tonight, to be honest with you. But to be frank, there's a certain way to do things and still come off being realistic. Again, wrestling is ice cream, many different flavors: vanilla, chocolate, strawberry. My flavor of ice cream is believability and realism. Like you said, you see me work, you see me come into the ring, you know you're going to get your money's worth, you know you're going to get entertained, you're going to get emotionally attached, but you're also going to believe what you're seeing. You're not going to see, some strike where there's daylight between me and my opponent. You're not going to see me sell a chop and not sell a boot to the face. Last time I checked, getting kicked in the face, hurts more than getting smacked across the chest. And a lot of people work backwards like that because guess what? People react to the sound of a chop, and then the crowd reacts, and then the people, the people in the ring go, "Oh, we got a reaction from the crowd. This must be the thing." No, that's not the thing. That's the crowd telling you what you want to do, what they want to see, but they're telling you, "Hey, do this," and you're doing it. They're becoming the puppet masters, and it's supposed to be the other way around. You're supposed to tell the crowd, nah. You're going to boo for me now. Oh, you're going to cheer for him then. Oh, I'm going to miss this elbow drop. You're going to get up. You're going to get happy because you think this guy's going to blow a comeback right now, but he's not, because I'm going to shut him back down because you guys weren't loud enough. Oh, what? I'm listening to the crowd. I'm feeding off you guys. Yeah, it's almost like improv comedy. It's not the best thing I've ever heard. Jim Cornette said, wrestling is not acting. It's reacting. And I try to instill this on people when they ask me my opinion, because if the crowds want to see A, B, and C, but you're giving them X, Y, Z, they're not coming back. They're not getting their money's worth. They're not having a good time. What's the purpose? That's like peeing in the wind. It's only a big mess. So you have to learn to feed off the crowd's energy. If you come out and they want to see A, B, and C, give them A, B, and C. Change it. If you think you have X, Y, Z in the back of your head. If you can't do that, then you have no reason being in the ring. Unless you're a new guy, you're still green. Okay, I understand. But then you should be in the ring with someone who could understand the scenario and guide you in order to give the crowd what they want and lead you. Look, I don't claim to be the best. No, actually, well, I do claim to be the greatest unsigned talent there is. But in actuality, there's always someone bigger and better and badder than you. And at the end of the day, you'll learn. When you don't learn in that ring, it's time to retire. And every time I'm in the ring, whether I'm in there with someone who's older than me, who's a veteran, or someone who's younger than me, at the end of the day, I'm feeding off of them, and I'm always learning. And I'm always learning in my scenario. I'm always learning from this and that and the other. And that's the problem. People don't want to learn. People just want to go out there and let me work for a pop. Pops don't work. You don't work for a pop. You work for an emotional connection, emotional attachment, and that's what works. Because when you emotionally attach with the fans, guess what? You get over. Okay, you do a flippity do that 450. Here I come on you, move, flumbo jumbo. Guess what? That's great. The first time they pop huge, yay! The 10th time, it's hey, we already seen it 10 times. Guess what? Then the move's not over. Most importantly, your job is to get your opponent over. He's not over. The match is not over. The angle's not over, and then you're not over because they were only popping for a move. You're a one-trick pony. But if you make that emotional connection, and they believe in who you are and what you bring to the table, then you can do whatever you want. And that's exactly what wrestling is. I'm sorry, long-winded answer, but yeah.
No, excellent. And I've heard you speak over the years on podcasts on the shout out to the Hameen Media Group and Ben Hameen. To those watching tonight that don't subscribe, check it out, channelattitude.com. Excellent content that you're not going to get anywhere else, and has been a very educational experience for me over the years. But I've heard you speak on those shows about your appreciation for mixed martial arts as a fan, and incorporating that kind of approach or some of the style in your matches. Was that a conscious decision? That's part number one. And what are your thoughts on MMA competitors that transition into pro wrestling? Aside from Lesnar, Dan the Beast Severn, who's a great friend of the King of Connecticut. On and on. We could stay here for a while. But what are your thoughts on those two areas?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, Greeks invented MMA, pancreation. Thank you. So you all are very welcome. Same thing with pro wrestling. You're very welcome. Same thing with mathematics, astrology, science, democracy, the Olympics. You all get on your knees and bow before the Greek god and say you're welcome.
Absolutely. And I want to interject with GGP. I agree wholeheartedly with GGP. And I'm going to tell you something. I have a lot of Greek blood. I have a villa in Shaka, which is about 65, 70 miles south of Palermo in Sicily. And my family comes from my grandparents come from Agrigento, which is the Greek city. And if you know anything about Sicily, and I'll give people a little history lesson, we were a conquering route for so many years, and the Greeks occupied Sicily for hundreds of years, as did the Arabs and the Normans and the Moors and the French. But the Greek impact and the Greek blood is very strong. And as a Mediterranean myself, I bow to the Greeks. I grew up with so many great Greeks. And I want to just take this opportunity to give a shout out to one of those Greeks, Spiro Papakosmos, who just got a new heart. And he was really, I've talked on my show about pinning records I had and so forth, but Spiro was really the best wrestler to come out of Norwalk High. And when I did the fundraiser for the match you mentioned Dan Severn, and I wrestled Chase Brown in the main event to fundraise for the match, Spiro was on the brink of death, man. I was staying at his house in Norwalk, 2017. He needed a new heart. And Spiro has a young man's heart now. He has a 22-year-old man's heart, and he's challenged me to a tag team match for fundraiser for the mats coming up at our high school in Connecticut, Norwalk High. And I'm going to be bringing up one of my studs that I coach down here in Florida, and he's got his stud for a tag match. The Greeks always love and respect to the Greeks.
Thank you, my brother.
And to GGP. And I agree with all of GGP's sentiments. And kind of to backtrack, Jack, I agree from a business perspective that it's very logical for Stephanie at this point to step down. It's not really news. A lot of this stuff that we see that they try to make a big deal of and news is just the natural progression of things.
Absolutely. And there's a saying, una fazza, una razza, which means that one and the same. So Greeks and Italians are very similar in every retrospect, religion, culture, family, everything. So, it is what it is. So as far as the Stephanie thing goes, it is what it is. Again, she stepped down. Okay, fine. Someone else is going to be a cog in the wheel, and they'll keep going until they sell. And then they'll get paid. And that's it. And that's how it works. It's called wrestling business. So it's the business aspect of it.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And I read an article today about it, and I'd heard the news, and it's just a natural progression of things. And them selling the company is a natural progression of things too. I mean, my God, people don't really, and this is an old school thing, we value our elders, right? Vince McMahon is an older man, and my God, if I were him, I would have retired years ago, maybe do a little on screen. But the man is a workaholic. He gave his life to the business.
Yeah, it's all he knows. He knows how to be the chairman, the founder, the head of WWE. It's in his blood. He got it from his father. He's a husband, or I don't know if they're divorced or whatever, but he's a father, grandfather. That's great. But at the end of the day, this is all he knows, and this is what keeps him going. It's almost like to make an analogy, you have a drug addict or a guy who smokes or drinks, an alcoholic, and all his life he's partying like a champ, and then he goes sober, and then a year later his body shuts down because he's not used to the daily grind. You know what I mean? Same thing here. I mean, the guy stepped away for because obviously he was told to, and now he's back because this is what else is he going to do? He doesn't play golf. The guy lifts weights. Okay, so what else are you going to do for the rest of the hours of the day? You can't lift weights 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So You know, it is what it is.
Same with chasing women, right?
I guess sooner or later, your legs get tired.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, as guys, you reach a certain age. I haven't fortunately popped there yet, but you reach a certain age where that the boat don't float.
Well, this is where we put in the ad for Blue Chew, like all the other podcasts.
Yeah, you gotta pop that. Jack, how come we don't have sponsors on this old school? We got to get Blue Chew over here. It's old school. We're old guys. Come on.
Old school, but also old school and not needing those corny ass sponsors, much like the Hameen Media Group.
Listen, heel strong all day long. Yalla.
So GDP, circling back to the MMA question, the influence in your style, as well as your thoughts on those competitors, fighters that have transitioned to be wrestlers.
All right, well, look at it like this. Another problem, and you could say it's a problem. I think it's an issue. Okay. If you've never been in a real fight in your life, you never been punched in the face, you never thrown a punch, you never got down in the schoolyard with another person over a disagreement, whatever the case may be. You never fought over a woman or a man, depending what boat whatever floats your boat. Point being is, how can you emulate a pro wrestling match that is a fixed fight? How can you emulate combat sports, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it? At the end of the day, you have to be able to almost be like a method actor. You can't be a method actor unless you know what it really feels like. And a lot of these kids, a lot of these people in the business, never been in a real fight. So that's why they're smacking their legs. That's why they have no psychology. That's why they're not selling what they're getting hit with, because they don't know what it really feels like to get hit with said strike or said move or whatever the case may be. I, not a tough guy by any stretch of the imagination, but I've never backed down, never walked away from a fight. And I've held my own. I know what it feels like to be in real fights. And when I got into wrestling, Johnny Valentine said, "You may not believe wrestling is real, but you're going to believe I'm real." And I took that saying and made it my mantra, something to orchestrate my career after. So I said to myself, if this was a real fight, what would you be doing? So I incorporated some grappling, some MMA style, because if you're in a fight and you can grab a hold of something, you're going to grab a hold of it no matter what it is, and if you're going to grab a hold, you're going to grab it right, because that's the way it works. Otherwise, the person who you're fighting with is going to get out and then kick your ass for trying to put him in a hold or whatever the case may be. So also, because I'm Greek and Greeks invented it, I said it fits my character as well. So that's why I incorporated a little bit of the MMA into my wrestling ability, because it only makes sense. That's the way I think. I mean, I could be wrong, because there's a lot of guys out there who are flippity doodah guys, and they're making a lot more money than I'm making right now doing what they love. But again, vanilla, chocolate, strawberries.
So another question I wanted to ask you was, you had an appearance or two in the 2008 movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke. Was that at a Jersey All Pro show, or am I mistaken there? And how did that come about?
I got a call from Evan Ginsberg, who's one of the producers on the film. Evan Ginsberg's good friend of mine, told me to come in and check it out. I'm like, I'm not an actor, I'm a wrestler. He goes, what do you have to lose? I said, all right. So I went and read for a part. I got a call back. I was like, oh, wait a minute. So I read had a second reading. Didn't get the part. The part I was reading for went to Tommy. What's his name? His last name. Oh, he was trained by Alpha. He has the mohawk in the movie, right? Very great wrestler, tremendous physique, bodybuilder, good guy all around. So he gets the part. So I get a call back saying, hey, we need extras for the movie. Do you mind coming in? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. I said, a couple questions. Number one, am I getting paid? He goes, you're the first guy to ask that. I said, well, it's a business. He goes, yeah, you're getting paid. Okay. Number two, I said, where is it? Oh, it's in New Jersey. We're going to do 2 days of shooting. Okay. So what they did is they were working with Alpha the Wild Simone and WXW. I've worked for Alpha plenty of years when I was in a tag team called The Solution with my partner, may he rest in peace, Havoc, Ed Toscano. Love you, brother. Miss you. Anyway, and they were doing a weird combination where they were doing matches. Some matches were just regular matches. Some matches were the matches from the movie, and they had wrestling fans and extras in the crowd. So the building was packed, and they would film, do a match, film, do a match, so and so do a match. So that's how it went about. And for 2 days, that's what we did. It was a nice time. I ended up having to do a match, even though I wasn't supposed to do a match because we were ahead of schedule and they needed to kill time. I ended up having a good match. I wrestled. Oh man, I'm sorry, my brain is mush right now. But I wrestled the guy in the film who had the snake tattoo on his chest, Paul Enormous. May he rest in peace as well. He's standing next to me in the locker room when we did the locker room scene, and we had a good match. I was actually a babyface, believe it or not. So I wrestled him. We had a good match. We're walking to the back. All of a sudden, someone goes, "Yo, guys, stop. Mickey Rourke wants to talk to you." Okay. So he comes over. He goes, "Brother, that was a great match. You guys killed it. That was awesome. I was very entertained. One of the best matches I've ever seen. Do me a favor, guys. Please keep doing what you're doing. I wish you nothing but the great success. You guys are awesome." I'm like, "All right, thank you, Mickey. I appreciate that." And then he walks away, and I'm like, "Well, look at that. We got just put over by Mickey Rourke. Pretty cool." So that was that. And then what happened? After the 2 days after that, I went to England for 3 weeks and wrestled for All-Star Wrestling and what's his name? The promoter, famous promoter everybody wrestled for, like Regal and Finley and Bulldog. What's his name? Oh, I'm so bad with names.
World of Sport? Or?
No. It was All-Star Wrestling. Brian Dixon,
okay.
right? I went to Brian. I wrestled for Brian Dixon in England for 3 weeks right after that. So
awesome.
That was fun as well.
So GGP, I want to ask you. So you were in the movie. What was your feeling of the final product, the final movie, The Wrestler?
Okay. It's funny because I didn't tell anybody I was in the movie. I didn't want to be that guy. "Hey, I'm in a movie. I'm in a movie. I'm in a movie." Everyone goes to see it, and then my shoulder's the only thing in frame. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not one of those guys who seeks attentions like some of these kids on Facebook and social media this day. So I went to go see it with my wife. Right. So I'm in the theater with my wife watching the movie, and I'm like, "Oh shit, there I am. Oh shit, there I am. Oh shit, they just mentioned my name. Oh shit, there I am. Oh my God." And then my wife's like, "Why didn't you tell me you were in the movie so much in the beginning?" I'm like, "Because I didn't know." I was like, I didn't want to make a big deal out of it because I don't know the outcome. So the movie was great. I thought the movie was good. The only thing that got me mad was certain things that I hate when they pull back the curtain, even though we're in 2023 now, you know, showing him gig.
GGP, do you think that movie put pro wrestling in a bad light?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Because sometimes we have to address the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is that we have certain people in the business who get addicted to drugs, who get addicted to the rock style lifestyle back in the day. And they get addicted to making money and not realizing that they have to save their money and invest it wisely because there has to be a life after wrestling. You can't put all your eggs in one basket. And honestly, I mean, let's face it, some people overstay their welcome and they try to live their glory days. I got that one more run, brother. And no one has the heart to tell them, "Hey, man, maybe you should be behind the camera. Maybe you should be behind the camera working office or being a fucking producer or, you know, being a commentator." I mean, sometimes it happens, you know? I mean, it brought a lot of the truths to the forefront, but can it paint a stereotype with a paintbrush because of the movie? Yeah, because perception is reality. Are they going to make a movie about a wrestler who was a success story and is a multimillionaire? No, they don't have to. He's called Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. It's called Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's called The Undertaker, Ric Flair, you know, among others. So, you know, again, perception is reality. It's what you take from it. So,
you know, I wanted to backtrack a little bit because I agree so much with what GGP is saying here, and he said something about people's attention spans today, right? So, Jack, you know, I mentioned it with when I did the interview with Pat Miletich, and when I did the thing with Goldie with Mike Goldberg from UFC, that Stephen Bonner and I have been writing a book together, right, for 4 years before he died. So, in that regard, Briar Cliff Sessions reached out to me in Charlotte gentleman named Justin Golightly from bjpenn.com, and he used to run around the Rousey.com. And he has his own production company now in Charlotte, North Carolina. And this guy, Justin, was at a event that I hosted with Dan 7 years ago in Colombia, where we used to do the Feast with the Beast, and there were some hilarious stories relating to that. He had a blast, man. He ended up at my house, Justin, with Dan. So he goes, man, he goes, this thing, because I was a huge fan of Bonner. He said, we want to bring this book that it's called Chaotic Enlightenment, and which was Stefan's name, to light. So I can tell you what we're doing. Flying up to Charlotte next week to record with these guys. In my voice, I'm going to do a nice introduction, and I'm going to do a read on, because this ties in with attention span, the select chapters that we handpick. And it's going to be a combination of, it's not going to be just an audio book. They're going to have animation. They've got some actresses that are going to act out some of these scenes. And it's going to be a really cool project, man. It's a work in progress. And it's really what I want to do for my friend, for Stefan, to get people to really know what a funny, creative guy he was.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Rest in peace, legend. GGP, I wanted to get in a question about the formation of the Conspiracy Horsemen. I first became aware of the podcast around 2017 and have been such an avid fan follower since. And just wanted to know how that came about. I mean, I know generally the backstory about working shows, working Not Immortal, but Dynasty, et cetera, and just wanted to know how that four workers getting together, how that idea germinated and then came to be the huge success and influential body that HMG is today.
Okay, well, it all started. I'm very good friends with Mike Mondo, right? He was in OVW with Bin. So Mike Mondo and I were booked for a show in upstate New York called Excite Wrestling. So we go to the show and he tells me, a buddy of mine from OVW is going to be there named Bin Hamin. He does an Arab gimmick. I said, all right, cool. So he introduces me to Bin. So we're sitting there, we're talking, and then we find out that we're both into what people call conspiracy theories. I call it just being a avid listener or somebody with an open mind who's always questioning the narrative. I like to question everything, and I like to see things from every different angle. Maybe it's the worker in me, whatever it is. So we're talking about this, that, and the other, and we're sitting there, and Mondo's looking at us like what the fuck did I just walk into? Like these guys just like they're best friends. So we kept in touch, right? And then I find out, I know Stevie through working shows. When we did Extreme Rising together, we worked each other and we clicked. And then we found out that he is also into conspiracy theories and free thinking and all that stuff. And then I met Sal. I was always friends with the FBI. Like I knew Nunzio or James, Little Guido, and I wrestled him plenty of times. And I knew CJ or Mama Luke, wrestled him plenty of times. And then Sal, they all were together at a show that was run by the SAT back in the days called, they had a thing called the Fighting Spirit Wrestling in New York. And they had a big show. I was wrestling La Parka on the show. And afterwards, I come out after the match. I cut a skeeving promo saying some offensive things, and I'm saying it because I see Sal in the corner just popping. I'm just doing it to get a rise out of him. And as soon as the promo's over, he's dying laughing. And then him and I just hit it off. And then I overhear him on a podcast one day talking about, free thoughts and conspiracy theories. And I find out him and I grew up in the same neighborhood in Queens, New York. And so I hit him up. I'm like, yo, man, you grew up in Rosedale, Queens? He's like, yeah. I'm like, I'm from Rosedale, Queens. He's like, no way. So we started talking. We knew a couple of the same people. And then Bin and Stevie did an episode of Bin's old podcast. I think it was called How means hardcore hustle or something like that to the effect. And they were talking about 9/11. And I'm like, bro, I wish I knew you guys were doing it because I would like to be on the show. So I was like, yeah, me too. I'm like, guys, let's do a show together. Let's all of us be four workers who don't talk anything about the business and talk about everything but the business. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. So we did it, and we came up with the name. I came up with the name Conspiracy Horsemen, because I figured the four horsemen of the apocalypse, it ties into each other, wrestling, conspiracies, yada yada. I came up with the design, right? The logo. Ben put it in the computer. He touched it up and did all the computer graphics with it, and then boom, we were off and running. And we had a good run for about 3.5 years, whatever, before we got blacklisted and blackballed and thrown off every platform. Now, Ben and I have been trying to get on track. We've done a few shows here and there, but our scheduling, he's busy as hell with all the shows, producing all that stuff. I got the new Force Order podcast, which is a Star Wars podcast, and with the wrestling dates, and Ben has a family, I have a family, my shoot job, whatever the case may be. It's kind of hard to try to get our schedules in line to where we can just pump out content every week. So we're trying to get back into the swing of things. It's been a lot more difficult than we expected, but that's how it's been. And we've come to find out there's been a lot of people in the business who were, free thinkers like us, but always scared to admit it. So we were happy to see that, hey, now you guys know that don't be afraid to speak your mind because you really have nothing to lose. What are you going to do? You're going to
tell you,
go ahead.
GGP, I got the perfect guest for you to have on that. One of my best good friends, old coach. I used to train at his gym in Austin at Militich Gym. Pat Militich. Pat is so big into the conspiracies, man. I was a guest on his show called The Conspiracy Farm that he has with
I think we had
Jeffrey
him on
Wilson.
I think
you had Pat on already. Okay, beautiful.
So. Yeah, we
beautiful.
Did
I was going to say, this is right up Pat's alley. I got to watch that episode because when I talked to Pat, man, he called me the day after Christmas to talk about Stefan, and I just listened because he's got so much knowledge, man. We had him on the show on Old School Shooters. How long ago, Jack, was that? Like a month ago? 2 months. We've been doing 2 months now. We've been doing this show. Yeah, so he was one of our first guests. Was Pat our first guest? I can't remember.
No, he was our third guest.
Third guest, yeah. So, but the thing is, the point is, it's great you had Pat on because I just listened to him and I can't even keep up in my mind. He has so much knowledge,
Yeah, and the problem is this. I mean, a lot of people out there, they hear the word conspiracy theorist as a dirty word, and it is a dirty word because the CIA contrived that label to try to label people who question their narrative and the narrative of the government and try to make them all look like, they're batshit crazy. Some of them are, not going to lie, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't be someone who just obeys and conforms to what is being told. You should always question. There's always an agenda and a gimmick behind everything. And at the end of the day,
I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but GGP, no. I had this thought, and I said this on Pat's show when I was on the Conspiracy Farm. I've had this thought for years. Semantics is everything. Words are the most important thing, and words are used to dismiss people. This is what I said to Pat and Jeffrey. Stop saying conspiracy and start saying expose.
Nice. Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yes. And then, the other day I saw a meme online. They say, I identify as a conspiracy theorist and my pronouns are told you so, because that's exactly what's going on. I tell people now, I'm going to stop calling me conspiracy theorist. You can start calling me spoiler warning, because I'm telling you guys everything that's coming to true and coming to light. And you guys think I'm crazy. But then 2 weeks later, 6 months later, when it comes out in the mainstream media, because they finally decide to tell everybody, or because they've been caught with their hand in the cookie jar, you guys look at me sideways like, damn, you were right. So, and I hate being right. Because it's just, sometimes it's right in front of you. You just don't see it. People have the blinders on and they're too distracted with the way. All right, put it this way. The world is a work. One giant work. Okay. And what do I mean by that? Everything is contrived to be a distraction, whether it's religion, politics, gender, race, just to keep the masses fighting amongst each other because a divided house cannot stand. And on top of that, as we're fighting for the crumbs, those few on top of the pyramid are running away with all the scarol, all the money, and they're doing it hand over fist. And we're letting them. And we're letting them because we're too busy worrying about BS and nonsense when we should be worrying about what's going on in this country and in this world. Because let's face it, we only have one planet. So, it is what it is.
There's an old school saying, you keep people on a hamster wheel and they'll never see what's right in front of them, right?
Yes.
Because they're always on that wheel.
And I think GGP, the fact that you have such a hardcore fan base and yet have been denied network television opportunities, and producers wanting to remake what the Conspiracy Horsemen were and are, I think that speaks to the fact that the narrative is most definitely controlled. And if you look deeper into it, profit, as you say all the time, follow the money. Profit is the overwhelming factor, yet it seems to be stifling creativity and growth. And at the end of the day, we're all controlled to some, you call it a work, you call it an expose, whatever, we're all controlled to some degree, which your group has shed a light on, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, whether it's God, whether it's the Anunnaki, whether it's Scuba Steve, I don't know, whatever you want to believe in, at the end of the day, we are a civilization that likes to be told what to do. And unfortunately, there's a select few of us who don't like to be told what to do. And when we speak up, we get tarred and feathered in the town square for it. But there's more of us who don't like to be told what to do, but they're too afraid to admit it. And they just go with the flow, and they don't want to be pointed out or othered like we were during the whole pandemic nonsense. So it's sad. It's sad because I tell people all the time, man, the perception is reality. You put on the news, all you see is bad news, right? Because misery loves company. And what do they dwell on? They dwell on the 1% of the population. They make it seem like it's bigger than it's supposed to be. And let's face it, the majority of the people in this world don't hate each other because of skin, color, race, or religion, or sexuality, or gender. All they want to do is take care of their family, make sure that they leave the world in a better place for their children, and have a good life. That's it.
I agree. I agree, GGP. And I'm going to tell you this too. And I've said this when this first episode was Colin Crandall, right? And I said this before. And I have a daughter my daughter's going to be turning 21 this year. And I feel like the school system in the United States, I don't know about Canada, is designed to pit us against one another. I'm going to tell you another story that relates to this. So is the prison system.
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you the story. I got left the gym basically back in 2008. It was a guy named Richie Giametta. He had a Capo MMA in South Carolina, Columbia, right? And I always tell this story because it's very telling. And I always joked that Richie recruited not from Penn State, which was a great wrestling program, but from the state pen. And I had these two prison fighters back in 2008. One guy was head. They were both heavyweights. One guy was head in his prison in Florida of, it was either Aryan Resistance or whatever it was, Aryan group, and he had all the Nazi tats and all this stuff. And he was a brick house. And then the other guy, Jason, was a black gangbanger. They were both right out of prison, right? And you would think these guys would hate each other. And right by Capo, it was in a bad area in Colombia. There was a club called strip club called Lucky's, right? So one night after practice, I'm hanging out with Jason and a couple of other black fighters, and we're going to go over there, have some drinks, right? And check out the TNA, right? So I go, the other guy's name was Shane, the Aryan guy. I go, you're not going to want to go, bro. We're going over there. He said, it's all made. It's black and Puerto Rican girls. And he goes, no, I'll go. We get over to the club, and the Aryan guy, Shane, is drinking with us. He's getting lap dances from the black girls. And after that, I pulled him aside and I said, man, I don't get in your business. I didn't ask you about all these tattoos, man, but you got the white brow, all this stuff. And I said, you figured you'd hate us. You wouldn't want to go over there. And I started to learn that in the prison system, if you're a white guy, it's the same thing. Like we had Larry Montz on here, who was a good friend of mine who was wrapped up in this whole FBI scandal with Greg Scarpa, and he was part of the Colombo family, and he had an FBI badge. It's a crazy story. But when we had him on, we talked about this on Old School Shooters. I said, we talked about this, and it's by design. The Italians, the Aryans, the black, they pit you against each other. And I think that's unfortunately bled over into the school system. They're trying to stoke hatred against people. It's disgusting.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, there's only one color that matters. That's green. And they know this. And they want it. They want that green. And they know that they can't get it because you don't think it's weird that 1% of the population owns 99% of the wealth? There's a big bad ratio. That's a big bad equation with the ratio being the way it is. That's because they realize that if all of us are fighting over nonsense, like you said, then we're not going to be worried about what they're doing. We're too busy worrying about what we're doing over here, in Gen Pop, instead of worrying about what's going on in the guards tower or whatever the case may be. So again, it's almost like a pyramid scheme. It's structured by design. The best thing is, I swear to God, the centralized banks in this world that run this world, the IMF, the Federal Reserve, all these places that are basically printing money for countries and robbing the resources from countries, and all these 13 royal blood families that are running the world, they're the ones who are orchestrating all of this because they realize there's a lot more of us than them. And if we all came together, we're all on the same frequency and the same wavelength, and spiritually, mentally, physically, we all come together, we'll overthrow the system. And then they got nothing. And then
it's funny, GGP, because being older guys, like back in the day, Master of Puppets, the Puppet Master, the songs, if you listen to the songs from GNR, Metallica, Megadeth, Motorhead, they were all exposing all this stuff back in the day. Now it's all mumble music. The kids are being, their brains are not, they're being programmed to hate each other. It's disgusting, man.
It is disgusting because, one, that we're being taught to hate each other. So any progression in civil rights that have happened over the years is now digressing. Two, all the entertainment value on social media is, like you said, mumble jumble. The music, the TikTok videos, it's making stupid people famous, and people are catering to these individuals doing pranks and eating Tide Pods and all this stupid stuff. Meanwhile, in China, TikTok is used for educational purposes, which is where it came from originally. And we're giving people who are idiots like the Kardashians and this, that, and the other reality show stars the pedestal, and people are worshiping these individuals when they should be looking at the teachers, the doctors, the lawyers, the firemen, the policemen, the real unsung heroes of the community. And they're not, they're being vilified. And on top of that, when we really look at things and we really deep dive into society, because of the way things are going, entertainment wise, music wise, now education wise, they're not teaching people how to live. They're not teaching people how to balance checkbooks, how to make investments, how to pay their taxes. They're teaching them Common Core math, which is where you have to walk around the corner to cross the street to get the answer, because they don't want people to become bosses. They want people to stay as employees and not question the system and just be happy to be there.
Yeah.
And that's
they want to dumb
problem.
down society. They want to water down, dumb down society. I mean, I saw a great meme that said, yeah, kid raising her hand saying, I'd love to learn how to pay my taxes. And the teacher said, some men have vaginas. It's like crazy, the mentality of it. Now, guys, I hate to cut you short, but I'm at like 2% on my phone. I don't want to lose you like mid-sentence and be rude.
Okay. So,
Well, we'll certainly look forward to possibly having you back again, GGP. I just wanted to get one question in real quick that we asked all of our guests, in addition to others that will hold in abeyance. But what does it mean for you personally to be an old school person, or that old school mentality?
oof, that is a great question, and I hopefully can give you guys a great answer. Being old school is cool. And why? Because I have self-respect for myself. I have morals, I have ethics, I have patience. I don't hate on others for being successful. I don't have swag. I have class because I'm a real fucking man. Okay, men have class, kids have swag. Um, so being old school, like again, it's a lost art form, it's a lost demographic, because if it wasn't for the old school, there wouldn't be a new school. So we're the foundation that everything's being built on. The only problem is the stuff that's being built on top of us is shit. And that's where we're at today. But I am very honored to be old school, both in wrestling and in life, and just being a guy who was raised right. I believe in God. I'm a Christian. If you're not, that's great. I don't care. That's up to you. I'm not one to tell you what makes you happy, what your flavor ice cream should be. You like chocolate? Beautiful. I like vanilla. You like strawberry? Great. I like pistachio. Doesn't matter. We're all one person. We're all one world. And the color of our skin doesn't matter. Our genders don't matter. Our religions don't matter. Nothing matters. The only thing that matters in life is to be kind to others, treat people with respect and how you want to be treated, and love everybody equally until they do you wrong. Then you kick the shit out of them and you yakuza kick them right in the fucking face and punch them right in the throat and teach them where their place is on the fucking pedestal. But maybe we'll have to do a part 2 because the king had to bounce. I feel bad.
No. That's fine. We're really. I knew when the concept of this show came about that you would be a perfect guest, and I really appreciate you taking the time right now. But I want to ask you, where can we find you on social media, and also to really plug hardcore your Pro Wrestling Tees store, along with the Bin Hameen version and the Conspiracy Horseman. I personally own 3 Pro Wrestling Tees Conspiracy Horseman shirts. They're incredible, high quality. Anything else you'd like to plug, GGP?
Sure. Thank you for the opportunity. Find me on Twitter at Greek God Papadon, Instagram at Greek God Papadon, Facebook Demetrius Papadon, Getter, where I'm hardly ever on, is Greek God Papadon. The YouTube channel where I have matches and promos is Greek God Papadon. You go to my Pro Wrestling Tee stores, Pro Wrestling Tees / Greek God Papadon. You see a pattern forming here, people. I know the wrestling fans aren't the sharpest tools in the shed, so I try to keep it simple. I do 2 podcasts. One is the Conspiracy Horseman. We haven't done it in a while, but it's still around. And I also do the New Force Order podcast, the NFO podcast. We stole the NWO logo, put an F where the W is, and it's a good blend of wrestling and Star Wars, mainly Star Wars. It's myself, my co-host, Dr. Alex Arroyo, who's an actual doctor, and Spiro Santanopoulos when he comes on here and there. He was the third man in the limo in the back. He hasn't been on lately because of personal situations, and he's really pissed off at Disney what they're doing Star Wars, to be honest. But your NFO for life. You can get us a New Force Order on any platform. There's podcasts. It's at NFO Podcast on Twitter, New Force Order on Instagram, official New Force Order on Facebook. Listen, man, thank you for the opportunity. I had a blast. I would look forward to coming back doing part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, part 100, because we've only skinned the tip of the iceberg, with this talk. So, and I'm looking forward to coming up to Canada and smacking around some Canucks.
Well, I was just going to say there's a rumor out there that the Insurgency and yourself may be making an appearance in Great North Wrestling in 2023. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
Well, listen, if they want to fucking put asses in seats, they're going to book myself. They're going to book Joey Conway. They're going to book Blaze Haram. They're going to book Bin Hamin, because listen, you can ask Immortal Championship Wrestling, where we run Roughshot, and Dynasty. We're the architects of those feds because we draw the fucking houses, and that's a shoot. And when we're not on the shows, they're not drawing as well. And when we come out, people are screaming and yelling at us and booing at us. But we're also the loudest reaction of the night for both baby faces and heels. So at the end of the day, you want good quality wrestling, you hire the Conspiracy Horsemen, you hire Bin Hamin, you hire GGP, you hire Conway, you hire Blaze Haram, you hire Stevie Richards, you hire fucking Sal Graziano, and you just give us the ball, let us run with it, and we'll fucking score for you. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely. Well, GGP, thanks once again for coming on. And since my partner has left the building, so to speak, I'll hit the tagline. Old school shooters, silver sages, spreading wisdom to the younger ages. Thanks very much again, GGP, and see everybody next time.
Thank you.